What's up? This is MC Lars. You are listening to Journey into Comics. You!
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stowe.
You're gonna see some serious shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode 105 of Journey into Comics. As always, I'm your host, Nate, joined today by my co-host, Brando. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You know, I'm not bad. We could sit here, probably both of us, for a couple hours and complain about shit that's not good in our lives or that has been taxing, but I guess we could just generalize a little bit. Life's been a little crazy for us. So it's been a while, is what I'm kind of getting at. We've had some roadblocks that have kind of slowed us down from recording shows.
Yeah, it seems like every year we have something or a block of time where we don't upload a show. I believe the first year it was in September, and then last year was around this time, and then this year was around this time.
Yeah, well, I guess we're like a business now. We have standardized, peaks and valleys,
Yeah. I mean, the show's still going strong, from what I understand. So that's good. It is now officially 100 episodes since I joined the show.
That's amazing. Holy hell.
I joined in episode 5, and this is episode 105.
Wow, so this is cool, man. I kind of consider you to be a part of the show all the way since like episode 2, though, because you were interacting with me and asking questions and stuff when I was, still kind of getting my feet. So, but officially, yeah, I get you. So happy 100th episode, Brando, even though we've both technically not been on 100 episodes.
No, I haven't done an updated list. I think the last time I did was on episode like 70 or something like that. I did a little bit of a
by the numbers.
By the numbers thing. I think we did it back then. We'll have to do that again. Just kind of see where we're at.
Yeah, well, it's actually kind of bizarre because I don't think for a while now there hasn't been a solo Nate cast or a solo Brando cast in, several months. It's kind of been refocused to where if we're doing a cast not with each other, it's one of the offshoot shows of JIC.
Yeah, and technically, I guess you could say that, to all our fans out there, I probably could have done a show with Mike and uploaded that as a Game Addicts on the main feed, I could have done that, but I really haven't done a show since the last, or we also could have uploaded the last Journey to Wrestling we did when we had our good friend Patrick on, who's officially the third guy on that show.
I know, I'm so excited to have him over there.
So that's going to give that show a different feel than this show, where it's mainly just you and me doing hosting stuff. That show is going to have 3 hosts, and we're going to try and work that show to where, since that's not a weekly show or a show that meets up all the time, where it's okay if we could put it off to try and get all 3 of us on, because he's got a lot of stuff going on in his life, and since GIC is the typical main focus of what we do, that the other side stuff kind of floats around that. It's almost like we're the planet and those are the moons in orbit.
I love the analogy, man. Awesome. Speaking of subsidiary side shoot shows of Journey into Comics, Foodie's Watching Movies episode 1 has been recorded. I wanted to let people know that we didn't just go into hiding. We're kind of working with this issue of our intro. Brando, I kind of, gave you a little bit of a heads up that I have all these ideas, but I can't really get them to work how I want them to sound. And then you came back at me with, hey man, this song might get us flagged, and that's an issue. So we're still working on how we're going to do our intro. We have a lot of different ideas we're trying to channel. And then I know that's probably a stupid reason not to put a show up, but fuck it, just put up the show without the intro. But
what would be cool, and this is just me kind of like brainstorming right here.
Sure, do it.
Like off the thing. Maybe have and I'm sure this has been done to death for any other sort of film like podcast, but have get like a soundbite of like an old film reel going on, and then do the song that you want to do, but try and see if Sarah can't play it on the piano.
Oh, dude, that's
Like that,
actually that's actually a really genius idea.
because I mean, I know she's a boss and can do shit like that.
Yeah, I'll once this episode's over, I'm gonna go talk to her about doing that. So that's cool. I'll have to remember to do that. But yeah, man, we like just to kind of wrap it back around to this first
Dude,
topic. Go,
dude,
yes.
boom. Okay, I just got JFK'd, so
Holy
mind blown.
Whoa.
Uh, um, like you can have like, because you know how like the old school like ragtime stuff,
Yeah.
have her do that, kind of like do that same song, but kind of do like maybe transpose it into like more of like the ragtime, and you can have like the little film reel thing going along, so it kind of has that old filmy
Silent
style.
film movie thing.
Yeah, because I remember how like one of your original ideas for the show was like something called like Voices of Vaudeville or something like that.
Yeah. I love
and
that.
and while the show isn't that anymore, maybe the intro could sort of be a harken back to that original idea.
I like that. That's a cool little Easter egg. Look at us riffing about another show on our own show. How
That is
meta.
us.
Brando, life has been crazy. I've been working on a house. You've had first birthday for Wyatt. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of other things going on. But like we missed SDCC. This is the first year Journey into Comics didn't really do a SDCC focused show, and I kind of want to say that's because SDCC really didn't like crazily impress me this year.
Same. There's a few things, like I like the trailers that kind of came out from that. The Wonder Woman trailer was great.
Walking Dead season 7 trailer was awesome.
Yes, it was. It actually was really good. I was really impressed with how they did that. And if you look into that stuff, I mean, there's just so much to take in. If you go, you watch that over and over, you're gonna see, dude, that's totally the sanctuary. Dude, that's the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you know where you are, and they were able to do it in a way without giving away, the big major death. Even though honestly, I think because of that, we can almost narrow it down now.
Yeah.
And also there was, I believe it was around it was sometime in July. Norman Reedus put out a video on Facebook where he played a prank on Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah.
Where he put glitter in his AC
And
vents.
then. Mm-hmm.
So obviously Norman Reedus is still around.
Yep.
So we can all assume that Daryl does not get does not meet Lucille.
Yeah, and you obviously know Rick isn't going to meet Lucille. Carl probably isn't going to meet Lucille. I mean, look, at this point, I know they're trying to keep up the mystery, but is keeping up the mystery kind of giving it away? Because it's like you're trying to divert us from it, but we know.
I thought of something right after that, okay?
Sure.
So in the comics, obviously we know who Negan kills, right? He kills Glenn. Now, what is the big conversation right before Glenn's death? It was him coming to grips of this world, and maybe this world is worth living. Maybe it is worth having a family in. What character just did that at the end of that last season? Remember, Nate? Remember.
Oh, God, I'm having a hard time remembering. Okay, hold on. Let me look down the line. Was it Michonne?
No. Well, okay, she kind of did, but I mean, this character's like his arc for that second half of that season was this.
So Glenn.
No, not Glenn.
Okay.
Somebody else.
I don't know.
Abraham.
Oh yeah. The whole thing with Sasha and everything.
Well, but that's not just it. Him deciding what he wants. Him deciding that maybe this world is worth living in and having a family in. That's exactly the same sort of steps that Glenn was taking when he got killed.
Okay, sorry, just had a little bit of a show interruption. So get back to that. No, what did you just say at the end of the Abraham?
That the path, the mental mind path that Abraham goes down of this world is worth living in. This might be a world worth having a family in, instead of a world so dark and gray. And not being afraid of that. That's exactly the steps that Glenn was going through in his mind right before he met Lucille.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know though. see the show, the Walking Dead show, and we're completely we're tangenting way early today, and that's fine. The Walking Dead show to me did this nice little swerve where it could have been Abraham at the end of an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
That was very much like how it was in the comics, and they didn't take that path, so now he's here. And I feel like sometimes, and this is not all the times, that, well, and maybe actually I'm a little bit wrong there, most of the time it seems when there's a major character death in the show, it isn't quite the same as it was in the comics. Almost
Right.
always. I mean, you look at, okay, for example, Tyrese is the one that meets the machete to the throat in the comic, not Herschel. Then you had, the governor kill Lori in the comic, not in the show.
Now, was that Governor or was that Lily that shot?
I think, wasn't that, I thought it was, you know what, I think you're right. I think it was Lily.
I think this has been a long time. It's been a couple years since I read the comics, but I want to say that Lily pulled the trigger and then she got upset that she killed a baby.
Yeah, I think so.
And then she shot the governor.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. Man, you have better memory than I do. I'm like trying to remember. Too many of these books bleed together because I read them so fast, you know?
Yeah.
So like some of those little details, I think I really need to go back and reread The Walking Dead is what I'm getting at.
The other stuff that came out of like Comic-Con though, of course the Wonder Woman trailer was great. I'm really looking forward to that. And I actually,
They brought that theme back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like her main theme, dude.
I know, it's so good.
If anybody wants to hear my cover of that, listen to the episode 100, and I drum that on the live on stage on the table.
You did do that actually.
But I also liked the Justice League trailer as well. I mean, it doesn't really reveal much about who the big bad of that film is going to be, but it definitely has a way different feel.
Yeah, and maybe we're going to just jump this on order a little bit. Let's talk DC here for a few. So the Justice League trailer. Surprised, actually, for me. Pleasantly surprised. Aquaman, obviously Jason Momoa just looks badass.
I knew they were going to go that route with him, so I wasn't surprised by that at all. But what honestly, I did like the interaction with the Flash. I thought that actually worked really well, especially when he threw the Batarang and he sees the Batarang, and then just you see him look at him and you see the light bulbs turning on.
And he's also like, did he really just throw that at me?
Right.
Like, who does this guy think he is? You know?
And then he gets it. He's like, holy shit, he is Batman.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. Maybe this is me being picky, Brando. This is the solo thing that I'm not really happy with about this Justice League movie. No Green Lantern. And I think that's a gaping hole in that series.
I think there's room later on to bring him in. I do agree with you, and I think the reason why they chose Cyborg instead of Green Lantern as the classic original lineup, right?
Correct.
Is basically to try and bring the series a bit forward, because in more recent years, Cyborg has been more involved, and I want us to. And I could be wrong about this, so please don't quote me too much on this. But I want to say that in one of the more recent books, isn't the Cyborg kind of revered as kind of like a founding member, like the newer version of the Justice League?
Yeah, correct.
So that's why they did that, and that's why they kind of put him out. And I think another reason for that, in a way, was to put some space in between the current DC stuff and the last Green Lantern movie.
Okay.
And then
also true, that is pretty fresh. It's only 7 years old, 6 years.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say the same thing about the Nolan Batman stuff happened a lot. Like that and Man of Steel were a year apart.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not necessarily too fair to say. However, I have heard they're going to bring Green Lantern stuff in, and there might be taking a different approach on that front. Maybe doing more of like what's the rumor Green Lantern Corps where they have like Hal and John Stewart.
They'll have several. Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're looking
So
to really bring an expansive universe. They might have Simon Baz. Oh, that'd be sick. Anyways, that's more recent comics. But anyways.
I really enjoyed the trailer. And then also the extended version of BBS came out, and I know we originally said that we were going to like watch that together, and do like a kind of a riff track on it. But I watched it, and we had to watch Man of Steel first because Caitlin had not seen Man of Steel.
Okay.
And so we just went right into it and watched it over like a couple of days because that's kind of how we got to do stuff in the middle of the week.
Sure, absolutely.
And honestly, watching it going from boom boom, and then watching the extended cut made me like that movie more.
Really?
It still has the issues that are there before, but knowing the issues are there going in like to rewatch it, knowing in my mind that any sort of thing that they do to this is not going to fix the glaring problem. I liken it to the people who didn't like the Mass Effect 3 ending. They said this ending fucking sucks. Well, they gave you an extended ending. It doesn't fix the original problem with the ending, but it gives you more closure, and it adds more substance. And honestly, I feel like with the extended cut being 3 hours long, there's more substance there. And actually, a good friend of the show, Silent Rob, is actually in complete agreement with me. He liked it better the second time with the extended scenes added.
Well, I would like you to give a little like overview. I want to see this. I haven't yet seen it, but you can sell me on it because I don't mind spoilers. I kind of know a lot of the deleted scenes and stuff. They've given a lot of that shit away. There's no real huge surprises.
No, there aren't. Like it's like the little stuff. It's Clark going, repeatedly going to Gotham, defying Perry to look more into the Bat thing because he is seeing something that he's not, right with, right?
Okay.
And then he's talking to citizens, and some of these citizens are scared to death of him. And then he's, that sort of fuels Clark into putting a stop. This guy is trying to do. Clark kind of sees it as this guy's trying to do what I'm doing, but he does it in a worse way. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it right.
He leads by fear and not by hope.
Exactly, and it gives that character a little bit more of an umph. Now, of course, the big glaring problem with the movie, for me, is some of the writing. It's just since there's so much to cram into this movie, a lot of the writing is a little subpar in spots. There's a little bit more. I want to say the scene wasn't in the theatrical cut. Lois is talking to that one Washington lady.
The piss lady?
No, not her. Does she work for an agency? She's the one that tells Lois that the bullet was made for a certain kind of metal.
Okay, I got you.
Well, they talk again after the bombing and finds out that the wheelchair is made of the same kind of metal.
Huh.
And Lois is like, "Oh my god! Like, why does any time that there's something controversial with Superman, why is Lex there? What does he have against Superman here?" And then the lady's like, "Yeah, and why would he build a bomb and then make it weaker?" And Lois is like, "What?" And she goes, "Well, it was encased in lead." And then if you go back to right after the bombing, Superman's like, "I didn't see it. I couldn't see it." And then then he blames himself. It was encased in lead.
Brilliant.
So there's a little bit more to that. And also, I don't remember this, but there was some background talking on TV, maybe during that same scene where they were like, Superman initially started to, oh, hi, Cat. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but
I actually did not hear that. I hear that, though. Holy cow. Yes? Would you like to talk? You want to talk? Say hi to our listeners.
Kitty, we're trying to talk about Batman v Superman.
Yeah, Ami. She's like, stop it.
On the TV on CNN, they start talking about how Superman initially started helping people out of the building and then took off. and that the FBI have not completely disregarded him as an accomplice.
Whoa. So it gets a little bit deep. Okay, so then let me ask this question. When you gave your initial review of Batman vs. Superman, there was one thing you said that has stuck with me. Really important stuff in this movie gets dropped down and relegated to only one line of dialogue. Does that maintain in the extended cut, or did they actually give you some of that missing dialogue? You kind of have said it here so far, but is that evident throughout the whole movie? Like a lot of the things that only got dropped to one line.
Not necessarily, okay? A lot of the things that got dropped down to a line or two are still the same, but you get a little bit more substance surrounding the whole plot, which makes it an overall more complete film, I guess you could say. I can see why they cut the scenes out of the movie, because to tell the kind of story that they were telling in this movie, you don't necessarily need them.
Okay.
Because when you and that's the job of any editor, of any director, when he needs to cut his film down, he needs to decide what to cut, and if what he's going to cut is going to hinder the final product. You still come to those same conclusions. The thing is that the extra scenes that are there definitely make it a little bit more complete. Now, I sort of said that the writing was still kind of iffy in spots, and that's what I was meaning by the one line or a couple lines of dialogue, And I think I might have even said it like this here on the show, but if you look at a Nolan film and how much they have a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue, like take one of their key scenes, right? If it's like the scene where Batman just can't figure out the Joker, right? He's like, I just can't figure this guy out. And then Alfred's like, when I was in Burma, there was a thief stealing precious stones, We had to burn down the forest to find him. Okay, that's an abridged version, right?
That's pretty good, though.
If that same scene was in Batman v Superman, here's the way it would go. I just can't figure out this Joker guy. And then Alfred would go, some men just want to watch the world burn. And Batman's like, you're right.
Just like, okay.
Yeah.
You didn't really teach me a lesson or anything. But
No. There's no background to that, but it's like the same thing. It accurately describes the Joker without having to go through and tell this long-ass story. Granted, Michael Caine totally kills on all of his little speeches. That works for that movie. But with the style of film that they did with Batman v Superman, it's not that way. It's not delivered that way. But altogether, I think at lowest, I think I gave the original theatrical cut, I can't talk, a 7. Maybe a 7.5 if I'm feeling generous.
Okay.
And then I think with the extended cut, I think I would bump that up to a 7.5 and then maybe an 8 if I'm feeling generous.
Well, okay.
And then, because I do enjoy it and I can understand people's problems with it. But that's just personal opinion. That goes down to, I think in a way, because Nate, can you imagine if this caliber of movie came out in the 90s?
Mind blowing.
No one would be given a crap about the little minute things, but because we've had the Dark Knight, because we've had the Avengers, people expect a certain level of quality, and maybe this movie didn't meet that. And I can almost guarantee you for a lot of people it didn't. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad film.
Okay, so now that ties into my next thing, and we're going to kind of just shift focus and stay in the same place all at once. Brando, what is up with, listen, do Rotten Tomato critics just hate DC? Is it universally known that everybody is secretly a Marvel fan, and then there's only half the community in the nerd culture that likes DC? Because it seems like every time a DC movie comes out, since they've announced that they're launching their big, awesome universe to compete with Marvel, here are some things I've noticed. BVS falls flat on its face with reviewers. Then even the fans were like, okay, there were things that were good about it. There were things that were bad about it. There were some people that universally really loved the movie. I'm looking at you, Westicles. There were some people that universally hated the movie. There are several people online you could look up reviews about. So on the flip, this past week, Suicide Squad comes out. And, as you know, reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes shit all over it. It was not good. Don't see it. It's drab. Why are you wasting your time? Don't do it. But then, and this is where I start to kind of realize some things. I'm really reading into people that I have on my Facebook feed and what they review these movies of. Because I think that's where you're going to find people who actually know what they're talking about, is the nerd culture. I'm sick of listening to what Rotten Tomatoes has to say. But do you think, Brando, that Rotten Tomatoes as a whole, the critics and everybody, have it out for DC and they want them to fail? What's up with all the hate?
I don't know. I think maybe the measuring stick is just a little too high. Because I haven't seen Suicide Squad. I want to, but money's been tight, so I haven't been able to go. But literally, it's almost like sort of the same thing. Is like it came out, and critics are really bashing it. I've heard everything from completely terrible to a little bit of a mix. And then on my Facebook wall, it's been mostly people who've been liking the film. And then there's been a couple that have said they didn't really care for it. And that's okay. I mean, because that's, there's personal opinion. I personally, ever since BVS this year, when a movie comes out, I don't look at what, online reviewers are saying. If I want to go see the movie, I'm going to go see the movie, and I'm going to make my own damn decision about how it was. And the thing is that I can guarantee you I'm going to be a little bit more lenient on it.
Exactly.
I'm not expecting the next massive, awesome superhero movie, because superhero movies, there's so many of them, dude, and not every single one of them are going to be great. And yeah, sure, maybe DC hasn't necessarily found their big one yet on this road, but that doesn't mean that it's not coming. In fact, I just saw this, is like one of the executives at Warner Brothers is said to be elated, and that the Suicide Squad has exceeded all of his projections for the movie. So in other words, I kind of get the feeling that execs at WB weren't necessarily thinking this movie was going to be a big hit.
Well, here's some things I've heard, Brando. I've heard that this is the best character-driven movie you could see, and that it was better than, say, Guardians of the Galaxy. And
it actually broke Guardians' record for August.
Exactly.
So that's really cool.
So, you get things like that. I've heard that it's the best Will Smith movie. Like, he is the best him he's ever been in this movie. Like, he's the bad boy from the 90s that he was, mixed with some of the softer sides of what he did in his later years, all wrapped into a bubble that is Deadshot. And a lot of people want to see Deadshot in a solo Batman movie because of this film. Interestingly enough, I've not heard enough about Leto as the Joker, and I think that concerns me. But if box office numbers tell you anything, the movie's got to do something right. People are seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's starting to. I was going to say something along the lines of that maybe, just maybe, people aren't like, even though all these negative reviews are coming out, they're like, well, you know what? There was doing the same thing with BVS. Let's go make our own decision. And I'm glad that they did, because then even if they agree with the reviewers, they actually went and saw it. And then like the reviewers didn't stop this movie from making some money. But I've kind of heard the same things that you've heard. I have heard some critics say that it doesn't do enough to question the motives or the morality of the villains. They're just sort of all seen as kind of anti-heroes, and that there are some who are definitely the driving force and some that are not. I have heard that there's a disappointment that there's not enough Joker, that he's just a side character for the most part.
Interesting.
To the point of like where like maybe it's almost kind of like false advertisement, where the trailers kind of focus on some Joker stuff and he's not in it enough. I've heard that Jared Leto is disappointed with how much stuff they shot that didn't make it into the movie. And I've heard people, and I took this as an exaggeration, but I've heard that there's enough Joker stuff that they did and ideas that could have been made into a full movie by itself. And I've heard that, and I really, same with you, I haven't heard enough about his Joker. I haven't heard too much praise, and I haven't heard anybody say he was terrible. So that's a good thing, that's awesome to hear that.
True.
But maybe there's a reason for that, is that there's just not enough of this to go off of a basis. And that here's something I do remember hearing, is that it's not that Leto was bad at all. He was okay, but maybe the writing didn't really lend too much for him to do. like the writing, like the material wasn't good enough for him to really take it and let's go with this, right? So maybe this is almost like dipping your toe in the water, and we're going to get more Joker later on, maybe in the Batman film, or I've even heard Leto saying that he wants to have his Joker face Superman, or he wants to have his Joker team up with Affleck's Batman to have that really weird dynamic. I mean, especially after the killing of Robin, which sets that, and I've heard that there's a deleted scene that really tells more about the killing of Robin. Where I guess in this version of Robin's death, Harley Quinn was involved.
Really?
Well, right, and we'll get when they first did Death in the Family, Harley wasn't even a character yet.
Correct.
So maybe like if you're going to retell it now, Harley would be around. She would be there. Maybe she would be involved with it. So from that standpoint, maybe you can have it to where that's the increased dynamic. I do want to see the movie. At this point, I kind of feel like I'm not going to see it in theaters because I haven't even seen Star Trek Beyond yet. And on the flip side, like reviews have been really harsh on the Star Trek films since they came out, right? The '09 and then Into Darkness.
Not this one.
No, this one got some really good reviews, and it colored me surprised.
Yeah. Usually it's hard for a trilogy of movies to end on a higher note. Usually, like the second one is everyone's like, "Oh my god, it was so great," or whatnot.
They've already greenlit 4.
Wow, I hadn't heard that yet. So that's
totally
awesome.
Greenlit, and they actually greenlit that the week before the movie launched, in North America. So they must have already had projections enough, and then also there's a new Star Trek series coming out either this year or next. Exclusively on the CBS On Demand app. It's called Star Trek Discovery, and it's supposed to be set before the original series.
Whoa.
So after Enterprise, before the original series, some kind of weird timey-wimey stuff going on there. But, let's just kind of roll this down and just say that I think in a way the internet has kind of hindered films a bit because people will just see a review and go, oh, well, this movie must be bad.
Yeah, they don't give it a chance for themselves. Right.
And really, guys, you just got to go. You've got to go yourself, and you've got to make up your own mind. And maybe the stuff DC's offering up right now isn't your flavor. Maybe Marvel is more your thing. That's cool. Personally, I kind of feel like the Marvel stuff is a little I mean, there's been some good Marvel stuff. I mean, I liked Age of Ultron. Civil War was all right. It was a good film. But then if you take a look at all the other stuff that they've done, like Iron Man 2 and 3 sucked.
Yep.
Thor 2,
Incredible Hulk,
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not great. But I mean, like, it seems like everybody just kind of looks back and they go, Avengers, Marvel stuff's better. Not necessarily. I mean, it's all subjective. I think it's okay. It's like I don't even think the first Avengers is that great. And look at Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Look at like they rate Avengers as in the 90s. Both the collection of critics and then also the like the fan reviews. And I don't think it's worth a 90. It's not that good of a movie. The whole first Avengers movie is all based around the one shot.
The pan around the team.
Yeah. And it's not a bad movie. It isn't a bad movie. And I'm not sitting here trying to tell you it's not. I just don't think it's a 90.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think I'd give it like an 87. Honestly. Maybe even 85. There are some things about the first Avengers movie that are not perfect.
No,
but
I would give it 80, 85.
You know? But you know what I think? Marvel gets a pass because they were the first company ballsy enough to do a shared universe on the big screen. That might be. They didn't hold back. And you know what? They were bold enough. They went, okay, fuck it. We're going to have Netflix series. They're going to tie in. We're going to have TV show on NBC or ABC or whatever. It's going to fucking tie in. Oh, by the way, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. drops huge fucking news at SDCC. Ghost Rider is coming to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. It's not old school Johnny Blaze. It's the new school Robbie Reyes. actually friend of Journey into Comics, Corey Hampshire, drew on some of the Robbie Reyes series of Ghost Rider, so that's pretty cool. Exciting to see Ghost Rider finally come to television. Hopefully he'll end up in the movies. We'll have to see that. But Brando, did you know that Harley Quinn and Killer Croc are supposed to eventually end up on Gotham now?
I heard that, yes.
Like, I think, is DC are they going, shit, man, maybe we do need to tie all this shit together. And and I've said it since day one, man, they can tie it together at any point with a snap of a fingers. Because all they have to do is go, oh, multiverse, oh, the movie verse is a different verse than the TV verse, and they're going to bridge together and have Ezra Miller show up as his Barry Allen with Barry Allen that's on TV. It's not impossible to do, is what I'm saying. I'm wondering if they're starting to backpedal and realize that's the way to go, is keeping everything together.
They've sort of unofficially said yes on the multiverse by adding Superman to Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
And not having it be Henry Cavill. So, which is something I actually wanted to add to the show. I saw a poster, and I don't know if it's legit. I saw some page shared it and said, wording is everything or something like that. And it literally was a poster of Superman. It said, Superman is coming in Supergirl.
Yeah, terrible wording. Just terrible wording.
I'm like, they're cousins.
Coming to Supergirl, not in.
Yeah, right. But, so there's that. And then I heard a rumor that, and I don't know what series that they would be in, but Batman, Batwoman, and Oracle might be going to CW as well.
Really?
I can't remember if that was on comicbook.com that I read that, or IGN, or somewhere I saw that, where that, there's a possibility of that, which means that that the Warner Brothers movie division and television division are pretty much going, all right, multiverse, you do your thing with these characters, we'll do their thing with these characters, and if we ever want to go mix them, all we got to do is, well,
it's the multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse. So there's that. And then, so I kind of think maybe they've sort of already done it, but they haven't absolutely come out and said, guys, keyword multiverse. But
that one word, Brando, gives them enough difference from Marvel that they will be able to do anything they want, and they might be able to gain ground. And they might be looked at in a couple 10 years like, man, while Marvel kept it all together from the beginning, DC was way more creative with it. They gave us stuff from Dark Knight Returns and all these other things and then tied it all together.
Yeah, and okay, so here's the thing. Marvel, as far as TV goes, all of their shows are affected by the movies. The shows don't affect the movies. I mean, they're
not
related.
Yet.
Right. But for example, they fucking killed Coulson. They killed him, and then they said, okay, he's back alive. And then you have a director, first two Avengers movies. I can't remember his name right now.
Joss Whedon.
Thank you very much, brain fart. He's like, well, he's dead in my universe. I don't acknowledge the fact that he's alive. And it's like, so, yes, in Daredevil, you do get the background stuff where you realize, and they mention this and that. So, like, that the movie stuff exists in this world, but what Daredevil's doing doesn't necessarily affect what's going on in Avengers or Civil War.
Kingpin going to prison isn't going to make Tony Stark freak out.
Right, exactly. So, while DC is doing all their stuff separate, Marvel has all their stuff connected, but literally only by threads. They do have it where they can go and they can make a big storyline on television and have that do something in the movie, but they haven't done it yet.
Correct. And let me tell you what, DC's TV universe is leaps and bounds ahead of anything Marvel's doing. Personal opinion. Not with Netflix. I don't consider Netflix standardized TV. Netflix is kind of its own new beast because it's you get it's like serialized dramas given to you all in one chunk.
Yeah.
And then obviously you look at DC TV, and they have many, many, many more episodes, episodically speaking, in their seasons than, say, a Daredevil or a Jessica Jones. Both phenomenal. But I tell you, I think that what DC is planning for this year, I saw a picture, and dude, I've never been so excited just from a picture of some shoes that I was when Stephen Amell shared a picture, and it's his boots as Arrow, and then you see Grant Gustin's boots as the Flash, and you see Brandon Routh's Atom suit, and then you see I always fuck up her name, the chick that plays Sarah Lance. It's not Katie Cassidy, it's the other one. I can't fucking think of her name. I feel so bad. It's her white canary suit, and then it's Melissa Benoist's Supergirl boots. And you're just like, fuck, this is real. Like, they're setting it up. They're going to go for some form of the Justice League or the Justice Society of America or the Justice League of America. They're going to do a team up on TV with no regrets. And I think DC's TV division is what's helping maybe help their movie division move forward with wanting to do this.
So you've got that. You got that, and then you also got Flashpoint.
Yeah, and the Flashpoint thing, man. Honestly, I can only see it going for like half a season maybe, and maybe that's how they tie in the other shows in the crossover is putting everything together. Honestly, it'd be super interesting to see Thomas Wayne show up in Flashpoint as
that would be awesome.
as Flashpoint Batman. I think that would be, you want to set some shit apart. You want to go for the gold. That's one of my favorite bat suits. I don't give a fuck if it's not Bruce. Flashpoint Batman is totally fucking awesome looking, and he's evil, and he's the most violent version of Batman. I mean, did you read the Batman Flashpoint stuff, Brando?
I have not, no.
Okay, so you don't really know anything about it.
I know bits and pieces.
Okay.
I think it'd be great to introduce the television Batman that way.
Well,
to release part.
Yeah, absolutely. But interestingly enough, and this is a big kind of spoiler, so sorry for any of you who haven't read any of the Batman Flashpoint stuff. In the Flashpoint universe, where Bruce gets killed and his parents live, his father goes crazy for justice and becomes Flashpoint Batman. His mother, on the other hand, goes crazy and becomes Flashpoint Joker.
Yeah.
And man, it's just, there's tension in those stories that is so great that if they could just, even for 2 episodes, just have a little mini side story of those two, bingo, done.
And see, when all said and done, then you could bring in Bruce after the fact, since the television audience will now know that story, and everyone knows Bruce Wayne's Batman, but to see the Thomas Wayne, and then to have you'll have everything be fixed from Flashpoint, then they could bring in the Bruce Wayne Batman after that.
Yep.
So,
man.
hey, it basically, with the multiverse, all of their options are unlimited. And I really hope that they take that into consideration and go all full bore with it.
Start utilizing it more.
Yeah.
I don't hate Ezra Miller as much as the possible Flash. He doesn't seem that bad, so I'm just gonna let it ride and see what happens.
No, dude. As I said, I really liked the quips. I really liked, like he seemed like the Flash, and it's different than television Flash, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It isn't. It's actually a kind of a good thing because he's his own style.
Yeah,
and that's
and
cool.
I thought the trailer really won me over. Coming from someone who didn't hate BVS and who thought, well, this is a pretty decent movie that they can really take this and let the ball roll with it now. And then I'm really glad to see that, even though I can understand why people, a monster burp.
Oh, geez.
I can see why people would be, maybe if they didn't like Man of Steel or BVS, they don't like Snyder. I can understand them going into Justice League a little hesitant, and I get that. But maybe it is time after Justice League to let some other directors come in and put their takes on stuff. I for one, am all for and really excited for a Ben Affleck directed Batman movie.
Yeah, those are going to be sick. I just hope, honestly, man, the one thing I want from Affleck more than anything, I want them to think outside the box for villains. I don't just want it to be, it has to be the Joker. I don't want it to just be, it has to be Riddler or Two-Face or Catwoman or Penguin. There's a slew of amazing villains they could use. They could use Calendar Man. They could use Killer Croc if you really wanted to get creative with it. I mean, they could use Scarecrow again and maybe do a little bit of a darker twist on that. They could
An
use
actual Scarecrow.
an actual
character, yeah.
a Mad Hatter would be interesting. Kind of give it like a dream sequency type thing. There, I mean, Clayface would be phenomenal.
I heard that the new movie's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of the members of the Rogues Gallery in it. And maybe not all like in the main villain spot, but I've heard that the new Batman movie, they're looking at it script wise right now as being kind of like a who's who of villains going to be at least making cameos.
Well, that's awesome. That's exciting to hear.
I mean, and to me that kind of sounds like an old episode of like the animated series, where sometimes you would see a lot of villains in like one spot or something like that.
Yeah, because villains hang out together. Duh.
Yeah, and then played cards. I remember that episode.
Yeah, exactly. So let's kind of shift focus for a second here, Brando. Real quick, one more thing out of SDCC that I thought was good to note. Marvel announces finally we have our Captain Marvel. It's not Ronda Rousey. Brie Larson, as we talked about on episode 100 live from Villains Con 2016, is our Captain Marvel. Do you like this choice?
I'm cool with it. I thought I was, I think I said I was cool with it before. I'm not, overly familiar with her, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
The only thing I know her from is she was Envy Adams in, actually I know her from two things. She was Envy Adams in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's where I know her from.
And then she was also Amy Schumer's sister in Trainwreck that had John Cena, which was one of the most awkward movie scenes I've ever watched in my whole life. A John Cena sex scene. It was just... And then he's awkward in the sex scene because that's his character, and it just made things even more awkward. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm excited for Brie Larson to be Captain Marvel. I think it's a good choice. Really, just taking away, we're only a couple months from November. I really want Doctor Strange to be here already. Put a new taste in my mouth for DC, or for Marvel movies and Marvel superhero movies, and movies in general. I think... And I've said this a couple times, I feel like Doctor Strange is going to be the inception of the Marvel Universe, because it's going to do defying all the laws of what we know Marvel movies to be, and it's going to be able to set itself so apart while still lending itself to the universe. And I hope that's actually the case when we go to see it.
Yeah, I want to say there was a new trailer that just came out.
It did. It just dropped today. It's a... I just had it just 1 second ago, and then I went past it. They also released a Luke Cage trailer today. Dropped. That will be released later this year. A couple months, I think, actually. Brando, did you see The Killing Joke? I know you had planned on doing that. Did you end up going?
No, unfortunately. I could only go see it on Monday of last week, and it didn't work out. So,
well, nothing wrong with that. I didn't get to see it either. I'm gonna end up getting it anyways, and
Same here. I did hear some people that didn't like what they did with the story with Batgirl in it.
Yeah, because they expanded on her story.
Well, they put in some like love undertones and actually a sex scene with Bruce.
Whoa. Well, that's a little weird.
Well, okay. There are some people I saw, and these were friends, okay, or friends of friends online who are really mad about this. I saw one person said that in the comics, there's never, ever at any point in time any sort of hint of a sexual attraction between Bruce and Barbara. And I don't know if I absolutely agree with that. Maybe they wouldn't go as far as that, as having, sexual intercourse or anything like that, or going all the way. But I definitely, there. Come on, you are Batgirl, and here is this awesome badass guy that dresses up like a bat, who's a fucking billionaire. You're not going to be any at all attracted to him.
No, that's complete and utter BS.
I mean, I get it if nothing ever comes of it. And we'll see. What they complain about is that the only place they've ever had any sort of undertoned relationship is in like the Bruce Timm stuff. Because in one of the Batman animated movies, while she's in college, they're dating. Bruce and Barbara are.
Yeah.
And I don't have a single problem with it. I don't understand why some people, like some purists, are like are also open arms, because a lot, like, what they're saying is that they're not upset about like the adaptation of the actual Killing Joke stuff. They said that was actually done really well. The part they're mad about is like the not only the fact that did Bruce and Barbara like kind of do what they did, but then Bruce kind of like ignores her afterward. And I'm like, well, what would Bruce do if he did something that he regretted? He'd probably try to avoid it.
Yep. With
You
all
know?
cost.
And I mean, because Bruce is awkward anyway. So, I mean, I definitely I could definitely see Bruce sort of like going, oh, I should not have done that. Damn it, Bruce. Fuck.
Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, now see, now this is going to get weird. And I think that one reason why they went that far was to establish that connection, and then for him to further blame himself more than just letting her kind of join him as Batgirl. But now there's a personal connection tie between them for when she does get, shot, paralyzed. So now he feels even more guilty about it.
Yeah.
I've heard the movie's great. Other than that, and I've actually heard people say that they loved it entirely. So I'm really excited to actually see it when I think it comes out like either this week or.
It's out.
Is it out?
Killing Joke's out. You can get it at Target for $16.99. I saw it there last night.
All right, cool. Because I haven't seen it yet.
Sweet.
Like in stores.
So I have a little bit more DC news I want to throw real quick. Then we're going to move on to our last couple things here. So there's a guy who is suing Warner Brothers. He says, my brother, who is a lawyer, and I are going to sue Warner Brothers in DC for false advertising, misleading visual images, and gaining a profit from us and millions of others due to these acts. So here's the rant, okay? He says, movie trailers are like food menus. They give you a preview of what you're going to get. If you look at McDonald's menu and you choose to get your favorite burger, presented, showcased in a nice picture with pickles, chicken, mild cheese, your favorite. In fact, that's the only reason you're getting this burger, because you love mild cheese. So you use your hard-earned money to pay for this burger. You get your burger only to find out that it isn't the burger you ordered. Yes, it has pickles and chicken, but it doesn't have the mild cheese. It has regular cheese. Suicide Squad trailer showcased several specific Joker scenes that I had paid for the whole movie just so I can watch these specific scenes that Warner Brothers and DC had advertised in their trailers and TV spots. These scenes are when the Joker bangs his head on the car window, when Joker says, let me show you my toys, when Joker punches the roof of the car, when Joker drops a bomb with his face, all messed up saying bye-bye. None of these scenes are in the movie. I drove 300 miles to London to go watch these specific scenes they had explicitly advertised in their TV ads, and they didn't show them to me. Adding to this, there were two specific katana scenes advertised that were also the reason I wanted to go watch the movie. These scenes were Katana's eyes going black and a slow motion shot of her and her sword taking souls in a smoky kind of style. These scenes were advertised several times in the first trailer and many TV ads, but they didn't show it to me in the movie. I wasted a lot of money paying and traveling to go watch this movie because of these specific scenes they had advertised to me, and all of us saying, hey, check out our preview. This will all be in our movie. Come watch it on the 5th. All lies. I told the theater about this Unjust Act and said I didn't get what I came here to see. Can I have my money back? They laughed at me and kicked me out. So now I'm taking this to court. I want my refund. The trauma of being embarrassed as I was kicked out and people laughing at me for wanting my refund. Also the 160 pounds of fuel money I used to drive from London or to London from Scotland. If you advertise something, give me what you have advertised, period. This is becoming a habit with movie studios, showing epic scenes in trailers, but they're never showing the movies. It's unjust. I want to say, join me if you feel the same way. Let's stop the nonsense of false, I think this is a good word, bullshittery. And don't let them bribe you with their deluxe premium special director's gold extended edition premium cut nonsense. You should get what they advertise as their first theater showing and what you have paid for based on what they have showed you in their advertisement. Our court process will begin 11/8/16, which is this week. Because
I have Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
11/8/16 would actually be this month, the 11th, so in 2 days.
Yeah. All right. So I got one thing to say about that.
Sure.
Card subject to change.
Card subject to change is correct.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like literally, like, can you find something to bitch about that is any more petty?
Correct.
That you didn't get what you wanted out of your fucking movie. And why the fuck are you traveling 300 miles to see a movie anyway? Apparently, you don't have priorities. Like, seriously.
Correct.
I mean, dude, no real disrespect here. What the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm not traveling 3 hours to see anything.
No. That'd be like me being like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna drive to Champaign from here, to go see Suicide Squad. I really don't need to. I could just go down the street where there's all. Are there no theaters in Scotland?
Maybe there's not.
Or
I mean,
was this guy so jacked up and excited about this movie that he was like, I'm not waiting the one fucking week difference that it's going to come out next week in Scotland. I'm going now, damn it, and I'll spend 160. He spent 160. Dude, that's like, what is that? Like that's like
spend $160 to make a 6-hour trip.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Like okay, so I understand there's some difference in currency here and some pound, but like are you driving a 1992 Chevy truck with 6 miles to the gallon? Yeah, no, come on, no. There's no way that this suit can go or do anything.
Well, here's the line that bothers me from this whole thing, Brando. I want my refund. The trauma of being embarrassed as I was being kicked out and people laughing at me for wanting my refund. Wait a minute. So you mean to say that he went and he was like, I want my refund, and they were like, no. And then he was like, no, seriously, give me my fucking refund. And they were like, no. That's you watched the whole movie. You're not getting a refund. Like, come in the middle of the movie and tell us that you're not happy and you're not going to see the rest of the movie. We'll give you your money back. And he says no. So then he made a fuss, a big enough fuss to get kicked out, meaning they had to have security ask him to leave. He made a big enough fuss to get kicked out of the movie theater, meaning that the embarrassment he suffered is all on his own fucking head anyways. It's his own goddamn fault. Don't be so petty. That's how this... I think that's the end result. Don't be so petty.
I see, and I don't like his analogy about buying a sandwich is like not even...
Just made me hungry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not even like valid for what we're talking about. I mean, this is a piece... Trailers are put out before the film is done, okay? Before they've actually put together the... So you can honestly say that they are putting together this movie, right? And they go, well, we got to put a trailer out. And the director's like, well, let's put this scene in there and this scene here. This will make a good trailer. Then, okay, so then they got the movie together. And they start looking at what stuff that they need to cut. What stuff shouldn't be in the movie because it doesn't add anything. Well, we need to, because you have an idea. There's several processes to the movie making, process that you like what. So what you start with a script, and then you get your cast. And then you start your filming, and then you always overfilm. You always put stuff in there that's not going to be in the final product. But then when you're skimming the fat, the story can actually sort of change because at some point the director and the writers and the producers, they're looking at, we need to tell this kind of story right here. And they start looking at, all right, so this scene does nothing for this. It's a cool scene with the Joker, but it does nothing.
Showing the Joker being crazy doesn't add to him being crazy. We all know that. Yeah,
so it's like... And even as we said, in the overall script, he's not even a main character. So it's like, fuck, do we give more development to Deadshot, or do we cut this Joker scene? Okay, what do we need for this movie? Blah, blah, blah. All right, sorry, guys, that scene got cut. So when you go to get a sandwich, that sandwich is made typically from the time that you order it to the time that you're sitting there waiting to get it. So you say, hey, this isn't the sandwich I ordered. You walk into this theater and say, hey, this isn't the movie that I wanted to see. This isn't the movie that was promised to me by the trailers. Fuck off. That trailer promises you nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. Card subject to change. If you go to see a boxing match, a UFC, WWE, anything, okay? Like there were people bitching. Like a month ago, WWE did a show in the David S. Palmer Arena where we did our 100th episode, and people were pissed because originally advertised when they first announced it were John Cena, were Dean Ambrose. Guess what? From the time that this show was announced to the time where the show was going on, another show got announced in Toronto at a bigger stadium. Where are they going to take their bigger names?
Toronto, not fucking
Toronto.
Danville, Illinois.
So then Dean was still supposed to be on the card until he won the WWE Championship. For when, okay, the WWE Champion, we need him up in Toronto. So therefore, the show was headlined by Bray Wyatt and Big Show. They had Enzo and Cass on the show. They had Sasha Banks on the show. It was a decent show for Danville, but it wasn't the big headline acts. Also, Roman was, he was out. Seth, he was up there in Toronto as well.
Did you go to this?
No, but I was invited to it.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
therefore, I was seeing a lot of people bitching about wanting their money back because they bought their tickets to see John Cena. Like, my kid was wanting to see John Cena, now he's not going to be there. Card subject to change. Literally.
You know what's interesting about that? That same kind of thing happened several years ago with me, and John Cena not being at a thing ended up working to what I call my advantage. And that we're going to we'll just riff on this for a few minutes and totally segue. A couple years ago, go to see a wrestling event. It had been advertised John Cena's going to be at the event. Everybody's freaking out and excited. Day of the show comes around, and there's a sign at the, I can't think of what it's called, Assembly Hall in Champaign. I don't think it's called the Assembly Hall. I think it's like the State Farm Arena or whatever.
Is that what it is now?
Yeah, they got bought. They have a sponsorship now, so they have a different name. But the Assembly Hall, yeah, I know, our childhood getting shit on again. The Assembly Hall had this event, and it was like John Cena's not going to appear. I think he might have actually got hurt or something, or maybe just needed time off, whatever. So then everyone's like, they were like, if you don't want to come to the show, come sell your ticket back to us. We'll give your money back, no big deal. But the main event for that card went from being, it was going to be John Cena, Chris Jericho. It became Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels in a WrestleMania 19 rematch.
Oh, yeah.
And they tore the fucking house down. It was amazing. And I think...
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's just really interesting that you say that John Cena couldn't be in Danville and that people were like, oh, boo, motherfucking, and getting all angry or whatever. And come on, I don't care. Some of the names you said anyways, I would rather see than John Cena anyways.
Well, see, okay, so check this out. Sean back then he didn't do a whole lot of house shows.
Correct.
So you got a really cool experience there.
Absolutely.
And like for example, from what I saw that Jake Surd, I assume that you remember who he is.
Yep.
I believe he hosts like every last Sunday of the month on the local Danville rock station. Which one is it?
I can't think of what it is. 94.9 K-Rock.
I think it's, yeah, but they have like a metal show, and then I think even we had a song played on there locally.
Yep.
But he took his kid, and he got to meet Enzo. He got to meet Big Show. When you go to these smaller venues, you actually get to meet some of these guys. Like they sat and talked outside to Enzo, outside the arena. And then, okay, so they got their picture taken with him outside the arena. And then, since they were sitting close to ringside, he was there and got another picture with him, So it was just like the TNA show that we saw there, too, a little bit more intimate.
Yeah.
Nothing
wrong with that.
No, because, okay, so like you and me are hoping to be able to go to Clash of Champions at the end of September. That's not set in stone, but if we go, do you think there's a chance that we're going to meet any of these big stars? No.
Depends, actually. I say that because the last time I went to a wrestling pay-per-view and was, in the thing or whatever, I saw a lot of the superstars. I interacted with a lot of the superstars, but they were kind of just out of our reach. Uh-huh. Because what would happen was, we left the arena, and the people we were with were like, hey, we know that if you come around to the back where the buses go, and there were only like maybe 50 other people that went with us, that you can actually like say hi and shit to the different wrestlers. And we saw them all exiting, getting into their fucking different tour buses or cars or whatever they were traveling in, and it was like I saw Tommy Dreamer and Orton and fucking RVD, or not RVD, Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio, and so it's not impossible. Will we meet them, hang out with them? Absolutely not, because they're got to get to Raw, or SmackDown. Whose show is Clash Champions?
Raw.
It is. So yeah, they got to be getting to Monday Night Raw, right away. So they'll be just traveling to the next place. So yeah, I don't think we'll meet them, but I know what you're saying is that the little shows, the little house shows, Hammond, Indiana, fucking Danville, Illinois, wherever, those are where you're going to meet some of these superstars, not the bigger things.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't really been able to do a Journey into Wrestling like we had planned.
No, but you know who I'm talking to on Messenger right now?
PRL.
I am talking to our third man, Patrick, and he's telling me that he's free next Thursday and Friday.
Well, I think we're going to have to do a show then.
Well, that's right before SummerSlam, so we can definitely take a look at
the card.
Well, not only at the card, but the lead up, because the last show we did was the week right before Battleground, so we can kind of take a look at where we've kind of come since the draft. And so you said you wanted to do kind of a gut reaction.
Yeah.
So go for it, man. This will be just sort of kind of like a preview for that show.
All I want to say is really quickly is it's very clear that Raw and SmackDown are two different shows. They're presented totally differently. There are things Raw does differently than SmackDown that I like. There are things that SmackDown does differently than Raw that I really like. I love that in this new era, they're not bullshitting, and they were like, hey, we're trying to really do things right this time and give the fans kind of what they want while also maintaining the mysteriousness of wrestling and not giving all of the things away. Moving themselves out of the Thursday night slot pre-recorded into a Tuesday night live show so anything can happen and you're not sure what's going to happen. And I'm excited for SmackDown tonight. I watched Raw last night for the fourth consecutive week in a row here. I'm going to watch SmackDown tonight for the fourth consecutive week in the row. So it's interesting. I love that there's this little mini war with Lesnar and Orton kind of going on. And then there's this whole build-up and crossing over on shows. I think that was a huge moment. It made me feel kind of like we were back in the Attitude Era when out of nowhere Randy Orton showed up and RKO'd Lesnar last week on Raw. But overall, man, I think that they're doing things right. And it doesn't seem like the roster's getting buried. I feel like everybody's being nicely utilized.
For the most part, my gut reaction is that it's obvious that there is a standoff between the quality of the roster on Raw and the quality of the roster on SmackDown. I don't understand why American Alpha didn't debut on the first week. That kind of wasn't right with me, but whatever. They debuted the second week. I don't like how Raw is 3 hours and SmackDown's only 2.
Yeah, it feels like Raw still has a lot of filler.
Yeah, they definitely have. It's definitely a lot more commercial breaks. They've been giving us some great matches. And I'm excited for SummerSlam. I'm excited for, Backlash and Night of Champions, or Clash of Champions, I'm sorry, to see kind of where we go. I'm excited that, from the get-go, they pushed Finn to the moon. So I'm excited for that. I can't really say much more without diving too much into a full-blown JIW conversation. So I'm generally happy. I'm not necessarily blown away. I was blown away by the first Raw. Put it that way. That first Raw was amazing from beginning to end.
Yep.
And then SmackDown was not as. I kind of felt like that was more of the same. But since then, I think Raw has settled back down to kind of what more of the kind of the Raw it used to be. It definitely is presented in a new way. They do stuff a little differently now, so that it definitely feels different. But as far as like the overall, I can definitely tell the pacing of the show is right back to where it was. That first night, they really came out, going all out, trying to come up with something new, and it worked. And you can't do that every week. So,
Yeah, but it's nice. Okay, last two things I want to say. One thing about SmackDown really quickly. One thing about Raw really quickly, and then we can move into our final topic here. So SmackDown. I just want to say I love the angle with AJ Styles and Cena. Again, Brando, as I've kind of evolved and I'm seeing John Cena as a person and really not taking such an offense that WWE has never done a heel turn or gave him anything else. I think it's really brilliant the fact that they're taking AJ Styles and essentially making him a bitter fan in the ring, yelling at John Cena and showing people this is what you look like when all you do is talk shit on John Cena. It makes you look foolish, you know, because he really loves it. He does. You cannot listen. You can't fucking deny John Cena loves what he does. He really does want to fucking be the fucking greatest person in Make-A-Wish's history, and he does strive to be that, you know, fucking shining light, friendly, over the top, nice person who, you know, constantly does things and goes above and beyond for his fans. I mean, the Cricket Wireless thing, he's super fun when you watch him host the ESPYs or whatever. So to see AJ Styles like, fuck you, John Cena, and then like he's just like, man, you're just bitter. I loved that because it was like, man, WWE's doing the smart thing. They're writing directly at the fan and making AJ look like not a fan of John Cena, but a fan of wrestling who hates John Cena. And I think that's a good place to write from. And then on the flip side for Raw, I do also what the fuck is up with R-Truth catching Pokemon all the time?
Honestly, I think it's just something for them to do, and WWE likes to be like, you know,
Hip.
hip and into pop culture. So they've kind of included that as a kind of a little storyline type thing.
Well, real quick to add into that, Pokemon Go had a new update.
Yeah, they did.
And I like it so far. I haven't hunted with it yet, so I don't know how it works, but there are now sightings, and there are blades of grass, and I think I've been told the blades maybe grow shorter when they're closer or something. I don't know. I haven't had any Pokemon spawn, because I've just been...
I haven't noticed that. Honestly, I've noticed them cycle through a lot more. So, like, when you get further away from a sighting, they just kind of go off the screen entirely.
Oh, that's cool.
So, hopefully... I think the only thing different with it is that it's a little bit more accurate. But, I mean, I haven't really noticed much. I only really play when I have days off or shit like that. So, I haven't really, like, done a lot. I mean, I've done a lot since the last time we talked about it. I mean, so since the last time we talked about it, it's taken the world by storm. But, like, I have become kind of like a weekend trainer.
Hey, nothing wrong with being a weekend trainer, man. Got to get it in when you can get it in. I've been getting it in, you know, in between working on Dad's house and shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, I will tell you, man, I do have a little piece of what I guess is late-breaking wrestling news. I don't know if you know anything about this, but there has been kind of a war of words that have happened between the WWE superstars and Conor McGregor. Do you know about this?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh man, Connor kind of like came out and talked shit about some of the WWE guys
In a press conference.
So then there's been a kind of a war on Twitter, and dude, I love some of these things that the star said to him.
Oh yeah, they're classics. So real quick to kind of tie this in, and then we can just kind of riff on some of these tweets. Connor, after saying these things in this press conference, said, hey, you know, I didn't mean to disrespect the WWE fans. What I meant to say was that I'd slap the head off your entire roster, and twice on Sundays. Connor, maybe a little too big for his britches. He's a little guy. He fights at 135. There are guys in the WWE locker room who are, you know, big show size and whatnot. So Roman Reigns says, you're the size of my leg. Shut up.
Yeah.
Then, you know, obviously Curtis Axel, kind of says, do you think you can slap my head off? Come try me. I'd mop your sorry ass. You know? And then I think Kofi Kingston, yikes, looks like the Notorious MMA could really use a bowl of Bootios right about now. Someone hook him up. And then he put the link to Bootios in the
Kurt
tweet.
Angle said, "Very funny, little guy. Why don't you get your head out of Dana White's ass?"
I just read that, actually.
And then MVP said, "The way Nate Diaz Stockton slapped you or nah?" Sasha Banks says, "Bring it." Big E says, "Would you prefer to find us individually or line us all up at once? I know your time is valuable, sir." And then my favorite one is Ric Flair.
Oh, see, I thought Sheamus's was better than Flair's, but you do Flair first.
All right. Flair says, "Oh crap! There are more of these now." Well, okay, so these aren't the ones. Okay, here it is. This is the original one that I saw because Flair has said Flair has posted 3 of them. Flair posted, "After Diaz finishes you again, I dare you to try guys like Dolph, Brock, or Fit. Oh, and you're welcome for the gimmick."
Damn.
And then he said, "Coming from a guy who built his career on copying my persona, I expected the type of class we get from Ronda or Anderson."
Damn.
And then he said, "Anyone who doubts whether or not Dolph could tie Connor in a knot, do yourself a favor and Google his accomplishments."
True. I mean, Dolph was a world-class wrestler, amateur wrestling. So.
Hell yeah. And Flair definitely I love that. Well, because he posted old school pictures of him in the NWA with the NWA title back when he was talking all that smack and shit.
Oh yeah, being the greatest.
Yeah.
But Sheamus's, man, never show a Jack Russell a mirror. It thinks it's a majestic Irish wolfhound. Really, it's just annoying wee yapper trying to sell tickets. One Irishman to another. That's pretty, hilarious.
So one more wrestling thing to tie into our other show that we do. Ryback is now officially gone.
Yep.
And now his post name has been revealed, I guess.
Okay,
or his post WWE name, because Ryback was a copyright of WWE. And he is being billed as, or advertised as, the big guy formerly known as Ryback.
Jesus. He's pretty ballsy.
Apparently his Twitter name is also the big guy. Also, the handle remains Ryback22. I want to say that he applied for some trademark on the big guy before WWE did.
Smart, very smart.
So,
let's see. One last thing, Brando, did you read Walking Dead 157?
I did. I read 56 and 57 because we haven't talked about either.
Oh well. Okay, well.
Wait. Did we talk about 56?
I don't know.
I talked about it with somebody, and maybe it wasn't you. It's been too long.
Well, let me just go to where I can find out that information. Folks, you can go to journeyintocomics.podbean.com and listen to all of our shows.
Yeah, it's almost been a full month.
Man, I hate that. I'm so sorry, guys.
We did talk about 156.
We did. Yep.
We did.
So, 156 sees the death and demise of Alpha. We see that, Negan's going to take this back to Rick, and what's that going to happen? So, what did you think about this 157, man?
It's pretty much kind of what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
Negan kind of comes back and is sitting there with Rick, and he's basically, once again, trying to prove like he's not a threat to them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I actually buy that, because Negan always has this smile on his face, so it's like you even though he says it, it's like you can either actually completely trust him, or there's always something cooking in the back of his mind for later. Or this is just the right move for now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he basically is telling Rick, is like, either way, I'm not going in that cell again. So.
Yeah, and I love the move that Rick makes. He's like, okay, I'll consider all these things. I might give you your own outpost where you're your only person and you only have enough weapons to defend yourself, but you're going to have to earn it. And by having to earn it, I'm going to make Dwight keep his eye on you 24/7, 365 and report back to me. And I also am going to tell Dwight, if you step out of line for even 1 second, your head's getting shot the fuck off. No questions asked. I love that veracity with Rick. He's just like, this is how things are going to be. You're right. You have proven yourself an asset to us. You fucking took out the leader of the Whisperers in one fell swoop, which I think might have caused more shit and drama to happen than we're going to realize. Whisperer War is only 6 issues, man. What can we see in these 6 issues? I mean, we already got issue 1, and they haven't even fought yet.
Right. Well, I'm sure that you noticed that they added some more panels on some of the pages.
They did they're moving to the 16 panel spread because they want to tell more story with these books.
Mm-hmm.
Less action, more story. So I think this is going to be a deeper, more character driven time in The Walking Dead.
Well, the one thing that they've done that's a bit different is that they've taken Negan, and he was the next big bad, right? He's the big villain for All Out War, and then they just kind of kept him around, and now he's as any much a main character as any of the other characters.
Yeah, I mean he's just a part of the team now, kinda. Not really at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he's a part of the cast. I mean, you have Rick, you have Andrea, you have Carl, you have Maggie, you have Jesus, you have Dwight and Michonne, and then there's Negan. Yeah. He's not necessarily against them, but he's this wild card that is definitely there, and definitely Rick's Joker is probably a good way to describe him.
Is the Kingdom gonna fuck over Alexandria?
Right, that's another thing that kind of got started here, is that there's some feeling here that after Ezekiel died that the Kingdom is not going to remain loyal to Rick.
Well, yeah, and that the Kingdom doesn't want Michonne as their appointed leader.
Yes, even though that's what Ezekiel wanted.
So there's this, there's kind of inner turmoil in the Kingdom, and where that goes is interesting. I liked in the letter hacks, Kirkman said, the people you see on those last 16 panels on that final page, this is the start of the Whisperer War, and their lives will not be the same once it's over. These 16 people are kind of the focus. And they might not all make it. And I think that's interesting. You look at, it's all major players in that,
Mm-hmm. Another thing is that we finally figure out where Eugene's little radio partner is from.
Ohio.
Eugene finally reveals where they are. And then that person, I can't remember if they've said, Stephanie is her name, right?
Yep, her name is Stephanie.
She has revealed that they are in Ohio.
Yeah, I can't tell with that story if that's going to be like the 100 millionth thing that bites Eugene in the ass in this series and goes wrong, or if he's actually going to come out ahead and actually have some good come from this. Yeah. I also, another thing we should talk about is what happens at the hilltop. I think it's very important to note that Michonne's like, hey, we're about to head back to Alexandria. Shit's about to get started and go down, Maggie. Let's go. And who shows up but Carl and Lydia? And they're like, we want in. Let's fucking do this. We want to fight. We want to battle. Lydia doesn't know what happened to her mom yet because none of the people here at the hilltop do.
Right.
And that's going to be interesting when that news breaks, But, Michonne's like, look, I need you guys here. If you guys aren't here protecting these people, who is, And I kind of like where that gets left. But I want to say here, I'm going to list off the people. Oh, yeah, also, what do we see with Father Gabriel here? He's, perched up on the water tower, and he sees a horde, but it doesn't look like an impossibly huge horde. They've dealt with bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it could be like the Whisperers coming right away,
Yeah.
and like a lot of the numbers could be hidden by some of the like the buildings and trees like kind of coming down. So, but he seems like he is like kind of frozen still in fear, and like they tell him to sound the horn when he sees anything, and he's just kind of there. And then that's how the issue kind of quickly wraps up, where it shows all the individuals.
Yeah, and let's see here. I can name most everybody on this final page here, but there are a couple that I think I'm not sure who it is. So it's Father Gabriel, then it's Dwight, then it's one of Dwight's men whose name I can't remember. Then it's Negan, then it's Magna, Michonne, Jesus, Maggie. Weird, actually. That's weird. Magna, Michonne, Jesus, Maggie. 3 out of those 4 were M's, and Jesus was the oddball. Then you have Carl, Lydia, I believe that's Dante and Aaron. The leader of the kingdom right now, or the guy that's sitting in the spot, Eugene, Andrea, and Rick. And then for the next thing to be said is, the 16. I love 16-panel comic grid. The story arc's more dense. Everyone featured on the last page will have drastically different lives 5 issues from now, if they're still alive. Man, this book is too good. I'm so excited for 158. I feel like The Walking Dead, you think, like, not every issue, Brando, is an action-packed final panel. You know, heart-stopping, what are they going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
But this one was a nice cool down. Like, it's like the calm before the storm. We had the same kind of thing in All Out War. We had the same kind of thing on the other side of the time jump. Everything settles for a minute, and then shit goes off.
I see, and one reason why I think some detractors who have said that Walking Dead is like not as good as it used to be, or kind of lost steam, is that because the thing with Walking Dead is that it's never necessarily been build up to any certain issue. They've always had like this long overarching story. So there are a lot of issues that really not much happens, but then that all boils down into the big story arcs where stuff does happen.
Yeah, like how many people are like, man, why the fuck are we reading panels of Eugene talking to somebody on the radio?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking in the back of my head, he told her where they are. She's going to figure out that there's a war coming, and they're going to come and help Alexandria. Or they're going to come and try to help the wrong fucking people, Like, they're going to totally fuck it all up. Or maybe they stay out of it altogether. Maybe Eugene dips and decides he doesn't want to die in war and takes off to Ohio and leaves everybody behind. I mean, everyone he cares about and Alexandria is gone. Abraham's gone. Rosita's gone. What's the fucking point of Eugene being there anymore? He doesn't feel happy. I can see him taking off, honestly.
Yeah. But then we can also, his story can still continue, and we can see what's going on in Ohio, and
exactly.
Then that could boil back down to Rick's group again, where he reaches out or goes back with people, or it could go any number of directions.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the Whisper War. I think it's September 3rd is the next issue. I might be way off on that. Let me see if I can pull that up really quickly. But as far as that's concerned, Brando, is there anything else you wanted to add today to JIC?
I don't think so. Me and Mike are supposed to be doing an episode of Game Addicts this week.
Oh, nice.
Thursday or Friday, so that'll be done. So a lot of video game stuff that's been going on will be talked about on that show. We're hopefully going to be doing JIW, Journey to Wrestling, next week with our good buddy Patrick, and hopefully we can work into those dates that he has off. That way we can all 3 be on the show and lead into SummerSlam. Hope to hear your first episode of Foodies Watching Movies here soon.
Oh, man, it was really interesting. We just had the original Turtles movie on in the background. We scarfed some pizza. We talked about kind of an overview of what the show's going to be like. Gave a couple previews of some of the games we're going to be doing over time. It was fun. We unofficially have a third co-host who will be announced during that show. Keep some mystery there. But yeah, man, Walking Dead 158 comes out September 7th. The 7th. So keep that in mind. If that's it, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Journey into Comics. You can get us on Facebook at Journey into Comics Podcast. Find us on Twitter at JIC Podcast. You can also send us an email at journeyintocomicspodcast@gmail.com. And I don't think there's anywhere where... Oh, YouTube. You can always go to YouTube and find us. Just search Journey into Comics. And if that's going to do it, Brando, thank you so much for being a part of episode 105. It was good to catch up with you, my friend.
Oh, yes, it was. You can also check us out on iTunes, Google Play Music, JourneyIntoComics.podbean. YouTube has all of our podcasts, even those side-offs podcasts we're talking about, Game Addicts Podcast, Journey into Wrestling, Foodies Watching Movies here soon. So all of that is there, plus other videos that I do regarding my collection. I want to do some more videos here soon. I just got to get the motivation and have it not be so hot back here, because that's, man, I don't know if you guys watched, but I put up a video where me and Mike did both of our pickups. And
Straight
it was
up sweating.
Oh gosh, it was so hot. In fact, we pulled a metal cast where we turned the fan on after the camera turned off and forgot to turn the fan back off. So there's that. But yeah, if that's it, guys, thank you guys for listening to this episode. We are not dead. We are still here, and we're hoping to kind of get back into some sort of a normal posting schedule again.
Rhythm will happen. We're just gonna have to get that little bit of a slowdown into the winter months. Wow, it's almost like fall, Brando.
I know. I'm gonna have to make my way up there, and I'm gonna have to do an episode of Foodies Watching Movies with you guys.
Love it. That's a plan. I am so down. Sounds good. All right, man. Well, if that's it, this is Journey to Comics, episode 105. I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you later.